And Gung Ho says his ridiculous line.
It's not going to be that ridiculous. Greetings, I'm Logan, the G.I. Joe Gamer. Tonight we have Joe Takes number 40. We're going to be looking at the first and best seal, in my opinion, on the G.I. Joe team. It's going to be Torpedo from the Hill. So, like always, we start with the vintage figure. Now, I actually have two of these, but I couldn't find my second one. He's in my doubles bag, which I have misplaced for whatever reason. As soon as I get things situated, I will most likely find that. And I'm sure his flippers are in there too. I just couldn't find those. It was weird. But, such is life. We got things going on in our lives, and sometimes things don't always go the way we want. Now, when I did put him on the battle stand, his foot at the back where the peg hole is cracked a little bit. So I'm probably going to take some harness nails and put it on there to keep it from cracking any further. It's a cheap little trick, and it once it dries, you can't really see it. And it's a pretty decent sealant, actually. I mean, yeah, it comes off pretty easy, but if you don't put it in the nail polish remover or alcohol, it should stay just fine. Now, this is from a weapons pack, his spear gun. I do have one of the original black ones. Again, it's probably with my other Torpedo. Now, this backpack actually contained not only his air tank, but these two little things on the side. And I always imagined that those were propellant so that he could go faster underwater. I thought that was pretty cool. I did like the fact that cartoon or comic book, he was always roaming around in his wetsuit. I thought that was neat. Now, there were times when he wasn't, especially in the comics, but in the cartoon, he was always in this wetsuit. They also, just as a side note, you could army build him, because you can't see his face. In the R2, they had a bunch of divers with this exact suit, only it was yellow and gray, I think. It was pretty cool. Now, I do have one other, I have a couple, but I'm going to only show one of Torpedo. And he came out in, I think, 2003. And when they did this, they called him Chief Torpedo. He was always a chief warrant officer, so that there's no reason not to call him Chief Torpedo. But I think they did that for copyright reasons. He came with one of these ridiculous guns, and I'm going to take it out of his hand. It doesn't even really fit in his hand. I put the clip in his head. But these would pop into the vehicles, and it would activate sound effects. It was kind of neat. It was a good idea, but it made the accessories ridiculously large. It had this big old peg on it that I didn't really care for. It was a nice idea, but I wish they implemented it a little better. Now, he did come with a pretty cool pistol, and this is basically a torpedo for going on land, which I thought was neat. But they did give him a rebreather, so he could go underwater as well, which is kind of nice. I mean, I'm pretty sure this figure actually did come with gear that where he could do that. This was a spy troops or a mission commander. He came out both ways, and I'm pretty sure I got mine as a mission commander that came with a disc with a cartoon. It was kind of cool. Now this comes off. It's just a little like vest that pops on and off, and then you got yourself a torpedo that could go on land. Now, I did get another torpedo that could go on land, That came with a Vamp and a couple other figures, Pathfinder and Outback, if I remember correctly. Uh, and that was the Vamp Mark 6. That's a pretty cool Vamp. It has a gun on the back instead of the standard 2 guns or missiles. And it was a darker green. It was kind of neat. And it was pretty much in the same series as is Valor versus Venom or Spy Troops. And that's about this era where he came out, the early 2000s. But what the innovations they did make was the plastic was definitely more durable, yet softer, and they fit right on the battle stands, no issues. Most of them, yes. But they did have roughly the same articulation. Some of them had better, but this particular figure just has the joint at the arm, the swivel arm battle grip, as they say, but it's actually lower right at the elbow, which was interesting. Of course, they have the natural stuff at the top, and the knees bend at the same, just like all that. I'm not gonna copy my idol Hooded Cobra Commander and go into all that. So I'm not actually doing a review. I'm just showing my figures. So I did like the skull cap, which is neat because it's probably a baklava or however you call it, however you pronounce it. I haven't been really good at pronouncing words lately, but baklava, I'm pretty sure. And that can pull down over like a mask. That's like Beachhead wears, or something similar. I thought this was a pretty cool update to Torpedo in the early 2000s, and like I said, it gives you another option than just having him in his wetsuit all the time. Now, takes us to the classified box art. Now he is number 73 in the series. Now this is a little bit different. It shows you on the back all the figure and the accessories, which I kind of liked. There are certain things that they did with this window-free packaging that I did like. I do like this box art on the side more so than what it is on the front, even though this pick is pretty cool, although it's just a smaller version of that. Now, he also comes with a foot locker, which I'll break out and show you because I like this innovation in the Joe Takes. And it looks like I got somebody commenting. Hello. Hey, Seraphis, how you doing? I think I got an off-brand knockoff Torpedo one year for my birthday when I was about 7. It annoyed me, but at least I could splash him. Yeah, they made a lot of those, bud, and that's okay. So long as you can imagine that it was your Torpedo. But I did like the fact that they came with these foot lockers. Now, I have all my accessories on my current Torpedo, but it was nice that they have his name right on the box, 73. So when you're displaying them, you can actually show this off as part of the figure. And it's part, as far as I'm concerned, it's a decent addition to the collection, even though the windowless packaging isn't my favorite. I do prefer the window packaging, but I wish they would have included the foot lockers when they went back to it. They didn't do that with Mutt. I hope at some point that they do. I'll go back to that. Now, I do like this part, which, again, the windowless packaging, they just went back to the regular art on the side and whatnot. But they did have the art on the side as black and white inside on all of these. And I'm going to try to remember to show these off because that's pretty cool. For that, they did that. And as you can see, it's the same art. It's just black and white. It's kind of cool. Very nice details that they added to these windowless boxes. And, they're not bad. I prefer like I said, the window packaging. Well, when you order online, it really doesn't matter. That's what most of us do nowadays. Well, thanks. I agree. I think it's very cool, too. We'll set him over here, and we're going to take a look at this classified figure. Now, he does come with this one. I have his flippers because he's brand new, of course. I do have the other one's flippers, like I said, but it's in storage somewhere. I have a lot of stuff, so it's hard to go through it all sometimes. Now, these, I will put them on his feet and show you what they look like here in just a minute, but I kind of like the displaying it with the flippers over his shoulder. Now, I thought they did a really good job of giving him a Hawaiian likeness. I don't know if you can really focus on that, but I thought it looked pretty cool. Now, maybe if I get it closer to the camera and come down, maybe it'll focus, but I doubt it. And he's just, I thought they did a really good job putting him together. They have his torpedo gun, the harpoon gun, as I should say. But they also gave him a submachine gun, which was nice, and you could remove his knife on the side. Now, a lot of the later ones started doing that too, and the modern figures you could do that as well. Now, all of this gear should fit on his backpack, and it probably does, but I haven't figured out how to do it all. And I do like his breathing apparatus here for his backpack. He looks pretty cool with his gear on, all geared up, as they say. Now, I like how it attaches to the backpack too. It just kind of pegs in there, and it's very similar to the original. But I wish they'd have gone ahead and not necessarily done the orange tanks. I mean, I like the black, but I wish they'd have put on the side the ability to propel him further through the water. I'm not sure they understood what that was when they were going through redoing these classified figures. Some of that art is lost on what exactly things were, I think, because they have some of the changes they made. You just kind of look at it and go, why? But on this particular figure, I think they did a really good job of updating him to the classified. Maybe let's see if I get his mask on straight there. There we go. I like this one a lot. Torpedo, to me, is a really cool character, and I'm glad that they brought him out in the classified line. I mean, I know they're trying to get all the older Joes, and he came out in 1983 originally. And so, like I said, I have my 1983 figure, which is pretty cool. And I'm glad I have two of those, actually. I at one point was going to army build him, but I decided against it, and I ended up getting the second one. And I'm like, but Torpedo's so cool. Why would I do that? I would rather army build Wetsuit and put different heads on Wetsuit. Wetsuit was a different looking figure, but it made sense for a troop builder more so to me than Torpedo did. But that's just my take on it. And like I said, the flippers go on there pretty good. They definitely stay on better than Snow Job snowshoes, which when I take a look at Snow Job in the future, I will definitely show those off too. But I do love the gray and the black look with the red highlights all over the figure. I'm glad they added the red to the flippers. That's very cool. At least I think so. Now, he does stand up on his own fairly well with the flippers, but he doesn't stand up perfectly, and they can come off. I mean, they're on there pretty good right now. But either that or I figured out how to put them on these. Sometimes with these classified figures, you have to figure stuff out, and that's cool. And they do have pegs on the bottom of the flippers, so you can actually display him with the flippers on too on the battle stand, and so it's kind of cool. Very, very well done figure. At least I think so. And Surface is saying, yeah, it's got a cool orca color scheme. Really cool. Yes, it does. I did put two and two together like that. Thank you, Seraphis. That's awesome. That's going to take us to the animated series. Now, he was in Menace of the Mass Device, the very first one, which they renamed G.I. Joe: Real American Hero. But as far as I remember, it was originally called Menace of the Mass Device, which was Cobra's big plot in that. And he showed up in a big old submarine when the Joes had these little shark-like things before the shark even came out. And it was kind of interesting. They were like precursors to the shark. It was nice to see that in the cartoon. That first one, they kind of just had to make stuff up, and it was really neat. A Torpedo's ride, basically, in that 1983, they had this mailway thing called the Mantis, which was a little surfboard with a sail on it and a machine gun. Now, I don't remember if that came out in 83 or 84, but it was around that time period. That was a cool little accessory that you could put together. It all folded up into a backpack. It was kind of neat. I don't have one of those, or else I'd be showing it off to you. But the general release, they also had the APC, and APC is my favorite vehicle, and I always had Torpedo in that because it's the amphibious personnel carrier. It goes right on water. So why wouldn't you have Torpedo in your amphibious vehicle, which he's your amphibious trooper? So that's just how I see that. Now, he was in a few episodes of the series. He was in Cobra Stops the World, where him and Deep Six took on this Cobra bubble on top of the water out in the middle of the ocean, and he went underwater and took out a bunch of eels, and Deep Six came over and helped him. It was definitely a neat, a very neat episode of the cartoon. Uh, his part in it was really him and Deep Six. It was really small, but it was pretty cool, and it was pivotal to the storyline as well. So that was kind of nice. Uh, he told Duke it would make a nifty aquarium after him and Deep Six put a big hole in it and it was sinking. So that was kind of fun. He did have some neat lines, although the I don't believe he was in Revenge of Cobra except for maybe like a cameo, but I don't think he had a voice. But in Menace of the Mass Device, he had a different voice than he did in the regular series. Now, his voice in Menace of the Mass Device was okay, but in the regular series, he sounded like a Hawaiian, which is cool. And his name is Edward Torpedo Lealoha, or Lealoha. I was looking up the pronunciation for that tonight, so I hope I got it right. Lealoha. I always thought it was a really cool name, and it set him apart from the other Joes because not only was he a SEAL and a sailor, but he was a Hawaiian, which was a first. I never even heard of a Hawaiian figure ever before that. I thought that was neat, or really since. I mean, maybe Hawaii 5-0 figures or something. I don't know. But as far as G.I. Joe is concerned, he's the only Hawaiian that I know of, and he represents pretty well. Let me see. I can think of he was in a cameo appearance in a cartoon on the Synthoid Conspiracy, but he was a Synthoid in that. Torpedo was just throughout the series here and there, and he didn't have a starring role in any of them, and none of them really, other than Cobra Stops the World, really stand out that much, or Menace of the Mass Device, where he actually was in charge of the mission, which I'll get talking to you about his character here in a bit. Now, he was in quite a few of the comics by Larry Hama, the Marvel Comics series. His first appearance, he was teamed up with Butt and Tripwire, and they basically got taken on a little merry chase by a junkyard. And it was kind of a comic adventure that they were on, and it was a lot of fun. And there's stories about that where Larry Hama ended that with Destro, Firefly, and Wild Weasel in Quicksand. I'm pretty sure it was Wild Weasel with him. And he just Junkyard led the Cobras into that and led the Joes straight to the Cobras. And it seemed like he was helping Cobra right up to the very end. It was kind of interesting way to use the dog, I thought. Now, one of my favorite storylines with Torpedo in the comic book was in this yearbook here, where he and Wetsuit, which was, I think Larry Hama really was happy that he got a second SEAL to team Torpedo up with, because he did quite a few stories where he and Torpedo were out in the thick of it in the field, and neither one of them in this actually were in wetsuits when they were on land, which was kind of neat, because SEALs don't generally operate on land. Let me see if there's a good shot here that I can find of Torpedo in wetsuit. There they go. They're all decked out in camo, and I'm pretty sure that's wetsuit there, and Torpedo back there with the buoy hat on, the jungle hat, as it were. And it was nice to see them in jungle fatigues on a jungle mission, because SEALs could go anywhere, sea, air, land. That's what the moniker is all about. Now, some of the comics covers that I have with Torpedo are pretty cool. Now, I tried to find all the ones I had, but I have a lot of comics, so I'm going to take this out so we don't get plastic glare. This is a trade paperback of the IDW series, still by Larry Hama. And you got Torpedo up here in the middle there on this boat. And there was a couple of issues with Torpedo that was really cool like that. Now, Beachhead and Stalker were in command of this mission, mostly Stalker. But they relied on Torpedo's expertise when they were on the water, and he was commander of the boat. So that's That's how GI Joe works. When you're in the field, they go by the specialty as to who's in charge, and if you're in the water, then you go by the highest ranking naval officer. And usually that's shipwreck. He's their chief of the boat, or when he first appeared in the comics, he was commander of the transportable tactical battle platform. It was interesting, very very interesting. Now, one of my favorite appearances by Torpedo though is this one here, Special Missions #1. Now he and Wetsuit again together. It was nice. Well, this was actually before that yearbook, but like I said, I think Larry Hama was really looking forward to getting the second SEAL to work with, and they put them together in this, and they actually helped a Russian naval captain defect to the United States, and meanwhile, the Baroness and Cobra was trying to stop them from whatever they were doing. They didn't even know, and this was a really interesting first issue for Special Missions. They did have a smaller Special Missions in the back of issue 50 as a premiere for it, but this is the actual series of Special Missions, and it was starring Torpedo and Wetsuit, which was kind of cool. Very nice issue. Now, I've seen a lot of these on sale at local comic shops for really cheap, so if you want to pick up Special Missions, now's probably a good time to do it. I actually see them as low as $1, but it depends on your comic shop too. The latest comic that he was in, still written by Larry Hama, was Silent Option. Now, he's up here in the corner, and for some reason, they had Agent Helix in charge, and she's just a specialist, but they actually had Bomb Strike in charge at first, and they were looking for Agent Helix, and Bomb Strike was right here, and Bomb Strike's just a sergeant. And they had Alpine in here that had seniority. That's the new Snake Eyes with... I just did a Kamakura's video a couple weeks ago, and that's who became the new Snake Eyes there for a while. And that's the female Snake Eyes that had Snake Eyes' brain downloaded into his memories downloaded into her brain. Let me see here. So you have to watch that video. I go into a full detailed background of all that stuff. Baroness, the Joes have their SEAL team heading somewhere. Quick, we must stop them. Yes, that's about how it was. They didn't know why the Joes were there. They were there for another reason, and so was the October Guard. But if I recall correctly, yeah, definitely, because Dana was flying a helicopter with that, and it was pretty cool. It's definitely a good read. That's the older the comic, generally the better read. But Larry Hama still writes some pretty good stuff. Now, I'm not. I'm really hip on the new GI Joe storyline that's with Image. Because it's all a zombie thing, and I like zombies, but I don't know, it feels weird in GI Joe. And let me see, Torpedo's right there in the middle on this one with the red background. He was just part of the team on this one, but his expertise came in handy. They were on the ocean a lot, and again, it was mostly about Agent Helix. It was kind of like her premiere in the comics, and they gave her a limited series called Silent Option, but it was just the GI Joe team. And there you have Torpedo again back there. I don't know if you can really see that. He's really small, but the rest of the team is back there. And then you got Agent Helix like this. And he wasn't on the cover of issue 4, but I'll show you anyway. It was definitely a cool comic book. The whole limited series was decent. And I was happy that I picked this up. Now, that takes us to my opinion on Torpedo. And he's my SEAL team commander. And I had actually... before I started this video, look something up about it. Now, he is a Warrant Officer 4. Now, the modern line, they called him Lieutenant Torpedo, but they still had him listed on his file card as a CW4, which is a Chief Warrant Officer 4, which is why they got away with calling him Chief Torpedo with this figure and a couple of other releases. I like the fact that they called him Chief Torpedo because he's a Chief Warrant Officer, so it just works. But it's not the chief in the Navy that you would think, because a chief of the boat or a chief warrant officer, chief petty officer is generally who they call a chief. But whatever works, he's still a chief warrant officer. But I'm going to read this off the internet. Do warrant officers lead teams? I wanted to clarify this because I knew that they did, but I wanted to make sure that I was right. And this says warrant officers in the rank of WO1 or CW2 serve as Special Forces Operational Detachment Alpha, SFODA, primarily as the Assistant Detachment Commander, and can also serve as the assistant detachment commander. Can also serve as the detachment commander in the absence of a commander. Select CW3, CW4, which is Chief Warrant Officer, serve as the commander of special teams. Now, Torpedo is your highest ranking naval officer in G.I. Joe, other than the Admiral. So he is their SEAL team commander de facto, because he's their highest ranking SEAL. It's not their only SEAL, but he's their highest ranking SEAL. Now, they did bring out another a SEAL call, which is basically I was looking for it, but I couldn't find it. It's a darker Torpedo, all in black. It's the same figure, but they called him Wet Down, and he came out in 2001 or 2002. I'm not really sure which exactly, but I remember getting it in a 2-pack, and it's an awesome figure. But he was not. What I was trying to say here is he's a Chief Warrant Officer as well, but they had him listed as CW5, which is a rank in the Navy, but it's not used very often. I can look it up real quick to see if it's still used. Let me see. Is CW5 still a pay grade used by the U.S. Navy? And we'll just find out together. Yep, it is still it's still a rank. So now I know sometimes they take ranks away and add them and put them back in. So it's nice to see what's current. And so actually, Wet Down would be the highest ranking SEAL. But the way I see it in the Joes, Torpedo has seniority. He should have the CW5. And if they promoted him to lieutenant, which they have said on a file, not on a file card, but on the front, they actually gave him the code name Lieutenant Torpedo. So, in my opinion, he is the G.I. Joe Team SEAL commander by default. Sort of like when you have a sergeant major and a master sergeant. Sometimes the master sergeant is in charge. Hello, Kiwi Customs and Collection. Yo, Joe, how's it going, mate? I'm doing pretty good. I hope you are. Just wrapping up my Torpedo video here. Just talking about where I place him in my G.I. Joe ranks, in my Joe-verse, my headcanon. Like I said, he's my SEAL team commander. Don't forget to hit that like button. I hope so. Thank you, sir. Now, I had many adventures with Torpedo. I've always thought he was the coolest SEAL that they put out. I like Wetsuit. I don't dislike Wetsuit. I just find Torpedo to be a cooler character. Maybe it's because I got to know him sooner. I started collecting in '85, the year before Wetsuit came out. So it's not like, I had a bigger chance to get to know Torpedo, but the cartoon had been out for a while, and I had seen him in Menace of the Master Vice, and then again in the first season of G.I. Joe. And I don't know, to me, he's a more interesting character. Now, I have to say I enjoy the duo between Wetsuit and Leatherneck. That's awesome. But Torpedo and Gung-Ho did not have that kind of rivalry or animosity. That's probably not the correct word. It'd probably be frenemies relationship that Wetsuit and Leatherneck have. Torpedo just seemed to get along with everybody. And the file card said he had the personality of a cold fish, if I recall correctly. And they never portrayed him that way. Not in the comics, not in the cartoon. So maybe Larry Hama just changed his mind. It happens. And when we write, as writers, we do this sometimes. Now, I'm going to show my two. I guess he would be considered vintage now, even in the 2000s, seeing how we're in 2024. So he's at least 20 years old, and he's over 40 now. He's 41. So that's quite a difference. Now, the classified figure, I will also show one more time because I enjoy showing off my figures, and I think these classified figures are really cool. And again, I really, really thought they did a great job on his Hawaiian likeness. Let me see. Tornado is one badass dude with a cool attitude, bro. Torpedo. Torpedo. Did they call him Tornado in in New Zealand? That'd be cool to find out, because here in the States we call him Torpedo. Tornado sounds actually pretty cool, like tornado. What am I doing? I've had I've got renovations going on in my house right now, and so I've got fans going and all sorts of things, and so my head is just kind of whew in certain areas, and so tornado. I don't know why I pronounced that tornado. Tornado sounds cool too, but yes, tornado. Now, like I said, is that what code name he went by in Australia and New Zealand? Because that would be interesting. Because if he did go by that, that's kind of cool. Because tornado, torpedo, both very cool code names. All right, so that's my take on torpedo. It'd be good to find out if that's what he went by in the land down under, as it were, and their friends across the water in New Zealand, the Kiwis. But I've got a. Hey, you say a bloody iPhone. Oh, okay, corrected it. Okay, and I'm mispronouncing tornado. You're getting auto-corrected tornado. So don't feel bad, buddy. We're just people. We're only human. So what I do have for you to end this out tonight is I have what's coming up next time on Joe Takes. So I hope you enjoyed this edition of Joe Takes 40 and Torpedo, my take. And on that note, Logan out. Now let me start this, and you guys have a good day.